He stopped when my kid stepped in. I felt sore and hungry as I was lying in the garage like in the corner. There is a dog. What's wrong with you, Dad? Why are you in the garage? He was shocked when he questioned, you get a pension of $7,000 a month? Then, my joyful son-in-law came out of the home and said, that pension is mine. I'm taking everything. What he did when he took off his watch will shock you. Please sign up for the before we go any further. Listen to our station and tell us where you are in the comments. The thin layer of concrete pushed through the cold mattress on my back. I could see a little light streaming in through the garage window and dust drifting in the air as I opened my eyes. In the one ray of August sun. 68 years old and employed in Philadelphia. I was shivering like a dog in my own garage because I was a fireman. My left shoulder. The location where Wesley had shoved me yesterday hurt. Not powerful enough to break anything. He was careful about that, but enough to remind me who was in control. I pushed myself up, and my joints pained. I wrapped the thick blanket around my shoulders. I could see them through the little window that looked out over the kitchen. Wesley sat at my table and ate the scrambled eggs that were on my dishes. He had wide shoulders and seemed at ease. Gertrude stood next to him with her blonde hair pushed back and her gaze on her coffee cup. She thought it had answers she didn't want. To look for a different place. My daughter, my tiny darling, used to come into my lap after dreams and beg me to read her another story. Sat on my lap after dreams and requested me to read them one more time. She wasn't looking at the garage and hadn't been looking at it. Me immediately away in daze. It made my stomach grumble. I had 3 crackers yesterday. The water from the garage's utility sink tasted like rust, but it helped a bit. I gently got up. I walked slowly to the kitchen door to see whether I was still balanced. I reached out my hand for the handle. The door opened before I did. Good knock. Wesley was 6'2" tall, and I was 5 feet 9 inches tall. His eyes weren't round. Not interested. My voice sounded like a horse when I said, I just need coffee. Just. Hey Wesley, here's some coffee. People who live in garages can't use the kitchen. He crossed his arms across his chest. That's how things are. You know the rule. I didn't look at him. I glanced at Gertrude. For a time, she just stared at her plate and fork. Moving your hand around the egg. My beloved Gertrude. She didn't look away. Wesley, it's true. You should go back, Dad. Not Dad. Not Papa. Just Dad, bringing. She spoke in the same flat voice for 2 weeks. Because they relocated me here. The ritual was more than. Wesley had pushed. Wesley's mouth created a shape that was almost a grin. Your pension also came. Up till yesterday. Don't worry, I'm doing a great job of taking care of things. The door was closed. The lock stopped working. I stood. He stayed there for a bit with his hands still up before heading back to the cot. I made fists with my hands and then let go, then hold on tight again. There was rage there, like a faint yet brilliant spark. Covered in ash. The flip phone was on the hard floor close to my pillow. I saved it for the occasions when the smartphone went missing 10 days ago. He stated he stole it to pay the bill for the phone. While I was shaking, I took it up. I held the text message from the bank with both hands. The automated mechanism I set up months ago, while I was in charge of my own accounts. Take out $7,000 in cash. A new total of $14,723. $7,000. I lost all of my earnings. I lay down on the bed and stared at that screen until the digits started to blur. There was a peg on the wall opposite from me that held my old fireman uniform. The dark blue. The material, which caught the faint light, and the 19th station patches. Where I had been working for 15 years. That outfit has been through fire and smoke. Had gotten soaked from broken fire hydrants and smelled of ash, perspiration, and courage. It saw me slumber on a floor in a garage. I trusted Wesley. That was the first mistake I made. 3 months ago. When he volunteered to assist me with my money, I felt he was being nice and responsible as a decent son-in-law. His father-in-law, who is retired, takes care of the expenses. I signed the papers without really reading them. Gertrude had. They grinned and said, "You're a great dad." Wesley shook my hand. It was already a trap. Finished. I just wasn't in the mood yet. I noticed Wesley giggle at something on TV as I peered out the window. There is a TV in my living room. He changed the furniture about last week and put my chair in a corner. They probably debited my credit card and gave me a leather couch that I had never seen before. There was a price for everything. To my accounts right now. I looked down at the flip phone again. There was just one number put up, Daniels. My boy. He lives in Harrisburg with his wife and kids, which is 2 hours away. We hadn't talked in 3 months. Wesley took my. I couldn't contact him since he took my phone, and this ancient flip phone was out of credit. The voice of the machine made that obvious. I tried yesterday. Not enough credit. Please put more money in so that this call may go through. But I didn't have any cash. Wesley did it. All of it. I hung up the phone and went back to the window. I saw myself in the mirror. I'm not as heavy as I used to be. My beard is gray and I have dark bruises on my shoulder. A man who is elderly and broken down. But something was different in my chest. The ember was growing. For 40 years, I had been walking into fire. Some individuals raced out of buildings, while others went inside. I had to carry people who were sleeping downstairs that were full of smoke. I stood on. I hid on rooftops with flames licking my boots as I thought of a way to send my men home safely. The Philadelphia Fire Department was really happy with me 17 times. The mayor shook my hand during my retirement party. I was now sleeping in asking for coffee in the garage while I watch a man take my life piece by piece. Our cell. I thought I was done. He thought he had won. I could feel the chilly metal on the emblem when I touched it. If there's a fire, you might have to go back, get well, and find a new route in. You could seem trapped at times, but you're merely getting ready for the appropriate time. I turned my head away from I looked out the window and then lay back down on the bed. There was a flip phone next to me, but I couldn't use it. It wasn't paying me anymore. My home was taken over. My child wouldn't look at me. But I wasn't done. I had to do. I know exactly what brought me here. What time did the door close? Where did the signals that something was wrong show up? I was done. I shut my eyes and tried to remember very carefully how a well-known firefighter had ended up being held captive in his own home. Your own garage. The memories came back slowly and stung, but they did. I sat on that. I was on the couch for a long time, which made me think about the months. I held onto the thin edge with both hands. Cloth till my hands grew white. The truth was about to be uncovered. I had to. Don't be afraid of it. 6 months ago, everything was fine. I've been living alone since Martha died 4 years ago. Things were going well a long time ago. The salary covered everything. Paid off the loan. Bills are manageable, and there is even enough money left over for birthday presents for the grandkids. Then Gertrude called. They both lost their space. There was a quarrel with the landlord regarding something that wasn't paid rent. Good. Will they stay with me? Only for a little while, until they were able to get back on their feet. I said yes immediately away. She was my child. What else would I do? They would. They moved in with 2 bags and a lot of talk. Wesley was going to start working shortly. Gertrude looked for a job at an office. They would be gone in 2 to 3 months at the most. They would go in the guest room and the spare bedroom. Told them to do. Becoming comfy. Wesley started talking about money within a week. The recollection became clear now. As sharp as a piece of broken glass. 3 months ago in June. We were in the kitchen. Table after dinner. While she washed the dishes, Gertrude sang. There was He could use the PC I provided him to print off a folder full of paperwork. He had responded in a kind way, "Thank you, Ambrose. I've been ideas. You have a lot of power here. Things like paying bills, insurance, and salaries. Can I help? I took some of that stress off of you. I was tired from tugging all afternoon. Weeds in the heat. Thanks, Wesley, but I've got it under control. I know you do." He would open the files. If something went wrong, would you mind letting me take care of everything? What if you got sick or forgot to pay? Enjoy your retirement. I grimaced at the documents since they were written in legalese. A power of attorney seems serious, but it's not. A limited power of attorney is merely for. He clicked a pen and put it on the first line to sign. You are in command of everything. Gertrude walked up, set a coffee cup next to me, and kissed my face. Dad, Wesley is good with money, she remarked. It will be simpler for everyone. Are you sure this is how families support one another? Yes, Wesley said with a smile. My uncle did the same thing with my grandpa, which made things easier. I signed 3 pages with 6 signatures. Wesley instructed me where to put my finger, and I did. There are lines and names in 4 locations. I didn't have to read the fine print before signing because he was family. The trap was set, and nothing changed for a time. In fact, bills were paid. Wesley arrived up as he always does. He said he had put everything to a shared account to make things simpler to manage, but I could still get to everything. It had been 6 weeks since I observed that I could ask for money without any problem. In late July, I was opening the mail at the kitchen table. Most of it was rubbish, but there were also some catalogs. I checked my bank statement like I always do. It said I had $347. That couldn't be true. My pension sent me $7,000 every month. After paying my bills, I should have had thousands left over. The woman on the other end of the line was kind and patient. Yes, Mr. Russell, your income is being sent directly to. Put down. Not to this account anymore, no. It will move to a distinct account on its own. It's the account that both of us have. It was set up 2 months ago. I saw Wesley in the living room watching TV. Wesley, I need to talk to you about the bank accounts. He hardly looked up. What about those? My pay. It's going to. That was a different story. The person at the bank stated it was a joint account. That's the one I made. It's better for him. The control was used to switch stations. Don't worry about it. But I need to get to you have access. I'll be back in a minute. Provide you cash when you need it. His eyes were different, harder, when he stared at me. This is better. That's how you do it, Ambrose. Believe me. The alarms had gone off. They were silent at first, then. After that, I paid closer attention and observed the new laptop that had been put in the other room. Bedroom, the expensive food, wine, and trophies that Wesley brought home. They couldn't afford the $300 leather jacket that Gertrude wore with the tag still on it. The credit card bill I got from the joint account included everything that was printed on the cover. They spent a lot of money on clothing, electronics, restaurants, and furnishings. I dared him a month ago, and now the recollection is burning my. I phoned and Gertrude was at the store. Wesley was in my garage. My hands were shaking. I was drinking my beer while sitting on a chair with my feet up. Wesley, you asked, where's my pension? I was holding 6 bank documents. It's in yellow. There is nothing in the account. Where is my money? He cautiously put the drink down. What about our money? You signed. It is done. I'm doing it right. Are you taking care of it? You are taking it? I raised my voice. I never said yes to this. I didn't sign the paperwork because you begged me to. I did it for your own good. He got up fast. He utilized his bulk and height to get near. I'd naturally back off. You signed. He replied, the papers, in a chilly voice. It's legal. I have power of attorney over the accounts, which means I'm in charge. If you make issue. Because you're old and dumb and can't do what you're meant to do, I'll have you declared incompetent, Ambrose. Taking care of your own company. Nursing home. Think about it. That was the impetus. Not a punch, because that would leave scars that others would want to know about. Just his palm on my chest, hard enough to knock me out. I fell backward against the wall. My shoulder impacted first, and it hurt the same shoulder that hurt now. She came home after 10 minutes and noticed me clutching my shoulder and Wesley sitting peacefully with his beer. I knew she was engaged the instant she glanced at me and Wesley and didn't say a thing. She wasn't pushed or fooled. It was more than 2 weeks ago when Wesley summoned me into the dining room like I worked there. Gertrude had been there, calm and with her hands folded. Wesley had informed her, "New arrangement, you're taking up too much space. You can find everything you need in the garage, such the bed, the sink, and the toilet. You don't come in until you have permission." I started to argue, but he stopped talking to me. "It's your decision, Ambrose. Garage." Or I phoned social services and urged them to check you for senile dementia. "You decide." That night, I'd relocate my bed. They pulled it through the kitchen as they watched TV. Now I'm stranded in the sweltering August heat without my flip phone. I could see the full image in my fingers. Every aspect and stage of the trap. For weeks, I had been thinking of myself as a victim, stuck, helpless to assist, and afraid. Firefighters do get through burning houses. They don't become terrified, they create strategies and find ways out. They know where the system is weak and wait for the proper time. I got up and headed to my clothing and touched the badge again. "Keep in mind that you may have to run away in a fire. Good luck. You may appear like you're down, but you're really getting ready for the next play." It seemed like Wesley had won. Was incorrect. I peeked in the garage window and saw myself. Greater. Wavier and battered. But suddenly my eyes seemed different. They were clearer and tougher. I couldn't contact Daniel yet. Not without a real phone. But Wesley provided me something useful. Time. 2. I sat in this garage for weeks and observed them through that glass. I knew how they acted and what they did when he departed for his afternoon stroll. How the home felt when Gertrude had lengthy baths, where the spare keys were stored. I learnt something else as they slept. I still had to fight. Not even close. The next day. There was a difference, not what Wesley expected would happen. On Friday night, the garage had that special feeling of nothing. Not tranquil, just empty. I sat down on the ancient wooden chair I had relocated. I stood in the corner and watched the shadows become longer through the window. My back was straighter now, which was new. The cut. 2 days ago, Wesley's elbow had made the region beneath my left eye grow dark purple. But something within. I had changed since yesterday's recollections. I wasn't simply getting by anymore, I was ready. Then I heard it. The sound of Daniel's Honda Accord, which had a loose exhaust that he kept meaning to replace. My heart. Fear and hope mixed together like chemicals. Not now and not this way. He didn't notice me. But the engine stopped, the door banged shut, and there a footfall on the road. I could see the home through the little window. I couldn't see the front door from here, but I could hear it open. I heard Daniel's voice, which was warm and cheerful. "Hey, is anyone home? Where's Dad?" "Nothing." Then Gertrude spoke too quickly and her voice was wrong. "Daniel, we didn't. I knew you were coming. This is Dad, and he's working on something in the yard." Wesley's voice paused. Simple yet land-based. "Daniel, it's been a long..." My hands were shaking as I stood up slowly. Part of me wanted to yell at him and warn him in some manner. Part of me wanted to hide and seem like everything was okay. Don't tell my son the truth. But my legs wouldn't move. Daniel inquired, "Where's the garage?" "His." I knew where it was. He lived in this house as a child. It was hard to answer the question. The steps were coming closer. The garage door. There was a lot of light flowing in from the house, and Daniel's towering form filled the doorway. Larger. I could see how his sentiments altered as I glanced at his face, which was no longer in the sun. He stared at me, then walked to the mark in the mattress. He was scared and shocked. The one tiny blanket on the ground. "Dad?" His voice was a little raspy. "What, Dad? What happened to your face?" I couldn't say anything. I simply stood there like a. He moved across the room 3 times and grabbed my shoulder. "You're living in the garage. Why do you live in the garage? You're receiving $7,000 a month." "Daniel?" My throat felt dry. "Don't do it." Arrived. "Dad, give me $7,000. Where is it?" "It's not simple, kid." Wesley showed up. Then he stood in the doorway with his chest pushed out, filling the frame with his girth. I was used to seeing that smug smile on his face. "Okay." Wesley claimed it wasn't hard at all. "I now own that income. Your dad signed the document, which gave Daniel full control. He slowly turned around and stood up straight. Please pardon me. Strength of legal practice. Everything was fine. He strode into the garage like he owned it, which he believed he did. He flipped it over. I have the money. Yes, it will be. This? His hand was on the mattress at me. This is his new home. Rules for the house. From the front entrance. Gertrude's voice sounded gentle. Hey, Wesley and Gertrude. Maybe we should be quiet. He didn't even glance at her. Your brother should know how things operate around here. Daniel's jaw grew tense. His. He raised his hand to his wrist and gazed at the watch there. It was a steel Omega catching the light. I had seen it before. It was Christmas 2 years ago, and he was proud of it. He got a present from the firm for reaching targets for 3 years in a row. He took it off. When the click went off, everything was quiet. He held out his palm for a time and then carefully set it down on the dusty workbench. This is an Omega watch. Daniel muttered, and each syllable was crisp and frigid. Comp awarded it to me for reaching targets for 3 years in a row. It's worth around. He glanced at Wesley and said, $8,000. Wesley blinked and responded, take it. What? Get the watch. Take it and get out of this house right now, or I'll call you and say something you won't like. The watch lay on the table between them. A table for work. $8,000 worth of stainless steel and handwork laying on sawdust and ancient furniture. Oil stains. He stared at it, then at Daniel, and then back at the watch. His face did some math. It was furious, greedy, and suspicious. Gertrude was behind him. She looked sick and put one hand on the doorframe to hold herself steady. Take it, Daniel urged over and over again. Wesley, our friend, remarked, last chance. Curled into the smile that said he had already won. He took the watch, flipped it over, and set it back down. In his large hands. He remarked, nice watch, and then he placed it back down. But I already have 7,000. Why would I want 8,000? Coming in every month for free? Daniel's voice didn't change. You don't have that pension yet. You do now. Power. Everything is legal, Wesley said, crossing his arms and feeling secure. Call the police if you want. They'll tell you. Your grandfather signed it over. It was his choice. The same thing. Daniel took out his phone. Wesley's smile became broader. He said, come stay with me. They aren't going to do anything. This is the paperwork I have. My bank account gets the money. This house? Once I find him not able, it will be mine too. He lives in the garage since that's where. The rules immediately. My rules. I stared at Daniel's face. Watch anything change. Behind his eyes. He held the phone in a casual way, away from Wesley. He moved his thumb about on the screen, but he didn't put it to his ear. Because you made him, he has to live out here. Daniel said in a quiet voice. Just a suggestion, not a question. Forced? Wesley, I laughed. He can go whenever he likes and locate a lovely state-run care facility. Those who can't accomplish their tasks. That's his other option. You're using his salary, right? My pension for elderly age? Modified by law? Everything is in line with the papers, like I indicated before. Gertrude made a noise between the doors. Not exactly a whimper. Wesley, maybe we should just let it be. Daniel didn't look at her. His voice ended. No. Don't say anything, Gertrude. Yes, you do, Danny. I understand. Daniel never took his eyes off of Wesley when we responded, I'll talk to you later. I'm taking Dad out right now. Get out of here. Wesley moved forward. He isn't going anywhere. This is his home. Daniel came up to me and laid a kind touch on my shoulder. Wake up, Dad. We are going away. I stood up. Daniel's grip held me stable, even if my legs were weak. Our cell. The door was shut. You can't just leave. There was something in Daniel's voice that I have never heard this before. Not mad. That wasn't chilly enough. Being in charge. Our cell. Hesitated. For the first time since this started, I saw uncertainty cross his expression. He then stepped aside. Daniel. I walked past him and through the home that used to be mine, past Gertrude, who was leaning against the wall. I didn't look at the new furnishings, the rooms that had been rearranged, or the life they had built with my money. I simply kept going. Daniel maintained his hand on my back the whole time we walked to his car. He opened the door for me and helped me go in. Not working. It might have been me. We drove away from the house. I watched the house shift. In the mirror behind you, Wesley stood at the entrance with his arms folded and a big smile on his face. He had no idea what Daniel did just now. The automobile was clean and toasty, and it seemed like a whole new universe. Safe. I sat in the passenger seat with my hands folded in my lap and watched the suburbs of Philadelphia go past. Window. The lights are coming on for the night. People going about their daily lives in their houses. I eventually said, "You shouldn't have seen that." Daniel was holding the steering wheel. His jaw was tight. How long, Dad? How long has this been happening? The documents were there 3 months ago. It stayed in the garage for 2 weeks. The cut? I touched my eye without thinking about it. It happened 2 days ago. He gets angry when I ask him about the money. In the muscles. Daniel's jaw moved. He didn't say anything more until we got to the Holiday Inn Express parking lot. Got out and came. Turned around and opened my door, as if I might break if I were hit hard. We walked to the lobby together. He utilized a business credit card. Said to the desk clerk, "I'm here to see family," and got 2 key cards. The elevator ride was quiet. There was no noise in the hallway. He opened the door to room 214 and kept it open. 2 beds that are clean. There is a bathroom with actual hot water, a TV, and white linens. I was in the midst of the room, and I could feel my chest shatter. Daniel pulled out a chair from the desk and said, "Dad, sit down. I want to order dinner." He wanted room service. Order more food than 2 individuals can consume. Steak, salad, green beans, and a baked potato. Bread and soup. When I told him I was angry about how much it cost, he merely shook his head. The meal came after 20 minutes. Daniel set it on the desk and offered me a knife and fork. I observed the steak that was thick. I could see steam rising from it and my hands started to tremble. "When did you last meal?" Daniel said in a soft voice. 3 crackers yesterday." He stared up at the sky. I sliced the first piece and watched as I chewed it slowly, as if I had forgotten what it felt like to be full. I didn't say anything, I simply stared with a look on my face that hurt more than being hungry ever could. I ate around. I ate meat, but then I had to quit. It was hard for me to swallow. Daniel put the rest in the mini fridge and covered it up. Then he took a legal paper out of his laptop bag, clicked a pen, and sat down across from me in a way that made it appear like he was going through a process. Talking about the project for the first time. He said, "Tell me everything. From the start, when did Wesley first speak?" I said, "May? Early May is wonderful, Wesley." Gertrude's kind grin, my offer, the papers on the kitchen table, and I signed papers that I don't understand very well. Daniel wrote things down and asked specific questions, dates, figures, and the precise phrases that were used in conversations. He did it like a challenge in getting things done. Get information, search for patterns, and find weak places. He said the same thing. Did Wesley remark that the power of attorney was not full? Yes. Just for banking? I was ordered to take care of everything else. But he moved the money around. All of it. $7,500. 3 times a month for 3 months. $22,500. Daniel spelled down the number and then clipped it out. Did he make a threat? He also claims he will take me to the physical care home. Considered incompetent and senile. Says I'll die in a prison for criminals. The pen stopped writing. Moving. Daniel raised his head. He glimpsed a flicker of something dangerous behind his eyes, but it swiftly faded away. Don't worry. He stated this was taking advantage of an older person financially. In Pennsylvania, there are certain restrictions that eviction by force Is it your house? It was paid off 15 years ago. Axe in. My name is. After that, he did something bad. A lot of crimes. I looked aside. Having the court documents, Daniel. He remarked, papers that were forced to be signed are not legitimate, and stealing money from someone. Daniel changed the page. It is against the law in Pennsylvania to injure an old person. Law company that specializes in adult law. I can't afford it. Yes, I can. He glanced at me. Dad, that's what I do, solve difficult transportation problems. This is simply one more way to look at it. Wesley also did something wrong. What went wrong tonight? His mouth had a small curve in it that looked like a grin. Everything was recorded on tape. I stared at him. You got him? He pulled out his phone and touched the screen. Wesley's comments filled the room. I am now the owner of that wage. I rule everything. Your dad signed the form. The money goes into my bank account. This house, as soon as I find him. If I'm discovered to be dumb, it will also be mine. He lives in the garage since that's how things are done these days. My rules. Daniel stopped the video. In Pennsylvania, only one side may agree. It is entirely fine to film. He acknowledged to illegally evicting individuals and threatening them violently. He also admitted to managing money. A tape is proof. For the first time in months, I felt like there was hope. We chatted till late at night. Daniel wrote additional notes, created plans, drew out a plan, talked to a lawyer, and collected documentation and medical data for the take away the power of attorney, file charges, acquire protective orders, and keep track of the stolen money and bruises. He set goals, figure out how to get there, and make a strategy. Issues. I observed how orderly and meticulous he had become as I watched him work. Not shaking, we were both quite exhausted and finally fell asleep in our respective beds. The room grew black. I could hear Daniel breathing in the next bed. He was awake, just as I was. I muttered, "Thank you," into the dark. "Dad, we're going to solve everything." I believed him. "Good morning." Too soon. Daniel's alarm went off at 6 o'clock. He packed, shampooed, and checked us out. Leave before 7 o'clock. He parked next to my car, and none of us was ready to say goodbye. I need to go back too. He instructed her to go to Boston and do her job. I said, "Okay, but I'll be back next Friday." I left. He turned his attention back to the garage. "You can remain here, Dad. I'll pay for a week." "It's not necessary at all." I touched his arm. "I go back. If Wesley could do something odd if you leave. Get rid of the proof and run. If I'm in the garage, he'll think he won. He'll think you gave up." "Are you sure? I've learned a lot from battling fires for 40 years. You sometimes have to go back into the smoke to obtain what you need. I'll be all right for a week." Keeping an eye on him and understanding his behaviors. Daniel pulled out a phone from his pocket. It was little and simple. The burner phone. Built-in numbers. "Anything might happen, so please call me." Taken. It. Where am I going to conceal it? I thought of putting it in my firefighter jacket in a spot he probably won't look. How it feels inside. Had a tiny cry. Great. Daniel hugged me and held on longer than he should have. 1. I swear, Dad. I understand. I stood in that parking lot and watched him drive away. I waited in the lot until he rounded the corner and his car was gone. Then I walked back to the home and the garage. The steps I took were. Wait a minute. Wesley and Gertrude watched from the living room window. When I got there, I saw the curtain shift. That pleasant smile came back to Wesley's face when he saw it. He thought I had tried to. I tried to go away and failed. I thought Daniel had abandoned me. Both of these things were wrong. Went into the garage, lay down on the cushion, and stared at the ceiling. I slipped my hand in my pocket and felt the burner phone. It was little, substantial, and genuine. 1. I could make it through the week. I've been through worse in a week, but this time I wasn't alone. Daniel sent me a text when he made it back to Boston. Reached. Starting to check into lawyers tomorrow. Hold on tight. Sunday. Another text. I got in touch with 3 elder law specialists. I'm calling on Monday. Every day. After that, check-ins. Short words, but each one is a chance to keep alive. Wesley observed that I was calmer. It made him furious. Monday. He peered through the garage while I was in the restroom, which I could do for 10 minutes a day. I looked He looked through my few belongings after that, seeking for money, a phone, or anything else Daniel might have. He didn't locate anything. The flame was within the lining of my fireman jacket. Being ready for crises for 40 years has paid off. You learn how to hide things so that no one can discover them. Wesley by Wednesday. It looked strange. They lingered in the kitchen and watched me through the window, trying to figure out why I had stopped asking. I wasn't asking. He was terrified by Thursday. Daniel was supposed to come back on Friday, but it couldn't come soon enough. I got up early on Monday morning, which is something firemen do a lot. Inside the alarm clock never actually goes off. It was dark and chilly in the garage. I grabbed down. The phone was hidden in the inner of my jacket. It stopped shaking my hands. I had to work. Daniel called on Sunday. From Boston at night. Short and cautious. Dad, write down everything, dates, pictures. The lawyer wants proof. That's what I did. I took images of the mattress came first, then the hard concrete floor, the lack of cushioning, and the one blanket that didn't keep the cold out. The chilly air, the rusted utilitarian sink, and the view of Wesley and Gertrude's house from my window. I found an old contractor's notebook in a grimy corner. It was spiral bound and half full. They were living a simple life on my money. The pages are still blank. I started writing. Wesley suggested power on May 8th. The attorneys said to make things easy, on May 10th, paperwork were signed in the kitchen table. Gertrude is there to console her. On June 15th, she found out that her pension had been transferred to a joint account. I lost $7,500. The dates were simpler than I anticipated they would be. Trained to be a fireman again. We documented down every call and occurrence, and it turned out that money abuse had the same building like any other problem. Timeline, proof, and witnesses. From the garage window, I saw Tuesday go by. A delivery truck drove up at midday, and 2 guys fought a massive monster. I could read the name from where I was standing. They were headed by Wesley. It was a 70-inch TV in a box by the front entrance. It moved in a unique way and had a big smile on its face, exactly like a homeowner. I snapped photographs of it. By glancing out the window. Not the highest quality, but it was good enough. It had a clear picture and a time stamp. In the late afternoon. A brand new, glossy black Ford Explorer with temporary shop tags showed arrived. Wesley and Gertrude could see it easily. They felt it was excellent that he got it without selling the previous automobile. Added a second automobile to my gang of cars. My old age income is $28,000. Counting down to retirement. I took additional photographs of the SUV from different angles. Wesley placing shopping bags in the trunk. Costly whiskey bottles with obvious luxury labels that I recognize from my own. It was a better moment. Daniel called on Tuesday night. The lawyer's name is Sandy. Mitchell is a specialist in elder law. We'll meet on Wednesday at 3 p.m. for coffee. There is a store on Broad Street, in the little, private building next to the library. Do you know how to go there? I'll tell Wesley I'm going for a walk. Dad, be cautious. Wesley was watching me on Wednesday morning. I could feel his eyes on me in the kitchen. I sat in the garage chair and pretended to read an old magazine as I looked out the window. I got up and stretched around too. Going for a walk, I informed the home. Get some air. No answer. That's all. I felt like someone was watching me. I strolled 6 blocks to the coffee shop. The world outside my garage appeared odd, as it always does. People doing regular things, like grabbing coffee and laughing at their phones, and not sleeping on the ground. Daniel was already there on the floors. Booth was in the corner, and the woman next to him was in her mid-50s. A man in a gray suit and a leather bag on the table. She rose up and shook my hand as I got close. Mr. Hey Russell, I'm Sandra Mitchell. Daniel's informed me what was going on with you, but I need to hear it from you first before we start. Thanks for all that happened. I sat down and took a big breath. How do I start? Start. When you hold the power of attorney, when did Wesley first bring it up? I informed her that. The whole time period. That lovely offer that turned out to be a trap, the documents I signed without reading them all the way through, Over time, I lost my money, my independence, my house, the threats to my safety, and the garage. Sandra went too. I scribble down notes and take notes fast, stopping now and again to make sure I have the dates or numbers right. She was attentive and bright, as if she had dealt with these kinds of instances before and knew what was necessary. When I was done, she brought out a computer, plugged in her headphones, and pushed play. Wesley's voice filled the small area between us. I now own my income. I am in command of everything. Your dad signed the form, and the pay money goes into my account. This house? It will be mine too once I prove him unfit. She ended the video and pulled out He put on headphones and stared directly at me. Mr. Russell, the law in Pennsylvania is extremely clear about this, taking advantage of someone's money. It is against the law to provide someone power of attorney if they are above 60. The tape demonstrates that the document was created under pressure, thus it is not genuine. Wesley insists it's okay, though. He thinks the police won't assist. That's not true. She pulled some documents out of her purse. He did something old. Pennsylvania is really serious about money abuse. They will even toss you out of your own house. That's not right. Being locked up and stealing things. She stopped. To stop him. This is more important, we may prosecute him. The word was just there. Daniel leaned forward and said, "Tell me. Dad, tell her about your papers." I handed her the notebook, the timetable, the sums, the exact times, and Sandra nodded as she read through each page. "This is great, very thorough," she said. "Certain. This is significant evidence for court." She glanced up. "You were on the fire crew. For 40 years, the Philadelphia fire. Government. You'll be pleased you got ready for this now." She looked at the photographs on the stolen phone Daniel had handed her. "These photographs, your living circumstances, and the video all prove it." She hung up the phone. "I believe our case is solid, but we need one more item." "What?" "Drugs. We need a doctor to look out the wounds and the weight reduction and write it down." "Do you?" "When?" "If feasible, tomorrow. The papers should be as new as possible." We talked for another hour. Sandra told us how the court system works. Get rid of the power of attorney and ask for protection. Informs. Press charges. Get back the money that was taken. Each step is accurate. Systematic and possible. I felt like I couldn't accomplish anything for 3 months. For 40 minutes with Melanie Mitchell. I also had a plan. Daniel escorted me part of the way back when we left. The bus halted at the corner, 2 streets from the home. "Are you okay, Dad?" "I'm fine," he said, hugging me. "Maybe less than a week more." I walked the remaining 2 streets by myself. Before I even arrived to my neighborhood, I felt strange. Wesley had a huge SUV. He parked in the driveway in a way that made it appear like he was in a hurry. The garage door was just slightly open, which was strange because it was typically closed. In every aspect. I placed my hand in my jacket pocket and felt the contour of the old phone. It was still there, but something was changed. Things were different now. It was there for me. I opened the garage door, and Wesley sat on my workbench with his legs dangling off. He had something in his palm. Once my eyes got acclimated to the low light, I could see what it was: phone components. Just a phone. Like the one I have with me. I hastily grabbed my jacket, but there was nothing in the pocket. It was ripped apart, and they found They flipped the mattress over and slammed the firefighter's jacket on the ground, ripping the inside lining. There were things all over the floor. He had torn the house apart. Wesley held him. He picked up the damaged phone, which had shards of the screen dangling off of it. His smirk suggested that he had won. "Ambrose, what is this? Where did you obtain that phone?" My voice was quiet and shaky. Daniel gave it to me immediately. To phone him sometimes. Daniel gave it to you. Daniel, the one who took you away last week. Daniel, who believes he can get in the way. He stepped off the workbench and utilized his height to make me appear little. Who have you been? To talk to? I promise it's just Daniel. Only my child. Lie. He took a step closer. You've. Leaving the garage every day. Where do you go? Goes for walks. Goes for walks to get some air. He hurled the bits of the phone at my feet. There is plastic and glass all over the ground. Do you think I'm dumb? Do you think I don't notice things? My heart hurt, but my head was clear. The phone was merely a ploy. The true proof was. Sandra is already there. Things were sent on Tuesday. Daniel got them in his email on Monday night. This phone. Let him think he located the threat. Do you want to hear something humorous, old man? Wesley's voice became lower. Read more. It's not only about money and that power of attorney you signed. It's also excellent for you. I can take care of my health. Make decisions for you. My chest felt like ice. Health? That's true. That is, if I think you're not able to be there or if I think you need to be there, I can put you in a secured memory unit at a nursing home. That. One call. Gertrude's voice sounded quiet as she stood in the doorway. Hey Wesley. Gertrude, be quiet. He didn't turn around. Your dad has to know where he stands. I looked my daughter in the eyes. A hushed appeal. Stop him. Please help me. You're my kid. She turned her head away. When I understood everything, it was her choice, not mine. She did it on purpose, not by accident. Please. My voice trembled. Not all of them are actors. There was a real health concern. It was so terrible. I'm sorry. I won't cause. That's correct. You're not going to. Wesley pulled off my jacket and glanced at the ripped hole. Dinner is off the table, phones are off, and walks are off the table. You need to learn. He walked. Find out. Gertrude ran after her without looking back. I stood in the wreckage of my own garage. I carefully drew on the mattress and picked up broken phone pieces and other stuff that were laying about. My coat. The inside of the jacket was ruined, but the garment itself was still there. It was dark, and I was so hungry that my stomach hurt. Wesley had fulfilled his promise. I hadn't eaten dinner, but Daniel, Sandra, and I had eaten at a coffee shop. I would be okay. I strolled 50 feet to the Johnsons' house next door at 7 o'clock. Frank and Martha and I had known each other for 15 years. After my wife died, I moved in. They were a pleasant couple who basically kept to themselves. But they knew something was amiss. Sometimes, when Wesley was nasty to me, I would notice Martha looking from her window. I knocked softly, and Martha Johnson answered the door. Her face turned from astonished to anxious in a split second. Hey, Ambrose. Are you okay? I'm sorry to trouble you, Martha. I need your aid. Welcome. Welcome. Frank. I can see Ambrose here. Frank stepped out of the living room and gave me a glance. His expression got gloomy. Oh my word, Ambrose. What are you up to? I told them in their warm kitchen, where Martha insisted on preparing coffee. Not everything. We still haven't talked about the lawyer, but that's enough. Wesley took my mobile phone, and I needed to call my kid. Taking care of family matters. The two guys stared at each other for a long time. Years of marriage, where you can understand each other without words. We've been anxious, Ambrose, Martha replied softly. We see things. How? I responded, I have help. That garage is your house. It's being taken care of, Frank answered. I just need a way to talk to you. You can use our phone anytime, day or night. We mean it. How long has this been going on? What's been going on? Martha questioned. Men say, but it's almost over. She leaned across the table and put her hand on mine. We should have talked sooner. Something should have been done. It's being done now, which is good. Frank copied down their phone number and gave it to me. When they weren't home, I could always get in through the back door. They had an extra key under the mat. They even informed me where it was. I felt less alone as I strolled back to my garage than I have in months. That night I phoned Daniel. It was the Johnsons' place. He heard about the phone Wesley found and laughed. He really laughed. Dad, that. The phone started working again. Sandra already has everything. He didn't find anything crucial. He has the right to make medical decisions for her. Daniel's voice halted. A care home was in danger. That should be given to Sandra. She must know. Dad, it doesn't work that way. We're relocating on Friday. Thursday is the medical check, and Friday is the paperwork. Please wait until then. Wesley reduced my food again early this morning. I had 2 crackers for breakfast. If I had supper at all, it would be the same. It was only Sunday that I could take a shower. He was trying to escape out by making the cage tighter. He thought that the spirit hadn't shattered yet. But I had a meeting that day. Sandra made arrangements for it. Medicines. Check in at a downtown clinic to keep track of the bruises and weight. The damage Wesley's abuse did, not simply for court and the criminal charges. Sandra warned us they were coming. I was going to go for a stroll, but I forgot. He watched me depart with apprehensive eyes, but added nothing. At the office, Dr. Sarah Chen looked me over and asked me questions. I told the truth, snapped a picture of the bruise beneath my eye, and weighed myself. I had dropped 23 pounds in 3 months and had lost muscle and other symptoms of signs of stress and hunger. Mr. Russell, she remarked in a quiet voice as she filled out. I have to alert someone about this. You are being abused. I told her that a lawyer is making a report. I obtained copies of everything from her. Criminal charges are coming. You should have more than this. I'm coming back. I went to see the Johnsons' house. Martha cooked lunch for me. It was a sandwich and other food. Frank and I ate fruit and soup together, but we didn't chat about anything vital. Being able to talk to me like usual. That night, I was hungry and lying on my small cot. I thought about time even though I had just eaten lunch. How it feels when you're waiting for help. How days feel. Like weeks, but I'd been through worse. Buildings were on fire, and I was breathing in smoke. Buildings that fell down. I could endure my son-in-law for a little while longer. I didn't go to the corner store to get food. I only needed milk, and I had to buy it there. Daniel would drive by at 9:15, precisely on schedule. Our buddy Wesley watched me depart. Filled his eyes from the kitchen window. Since the phone incident, which has become my new interest, I've been walking every day. He wasn't sure about me, but he let me leave. They presumably assumed I had nowhere to go and nothing to do to cause trouble. He was mistaken. Daniel's Honda came into the parking lot at 9:17. He stepped out and looked up. I pretended to be astonished. Hey Dad, why are you here? I showed him the quart of milk I bought with 35 cents. Daniel, I didn't. I knew you were heading to town. I made the choice at the last minute. I wanted to know how you were doing. When our eyes met, they fell to the. I understood all about milk. I'll get you breakfast food. Let's discuss. After 20 minutes, we were at the treatment center. Dr. Sarah Chen was ready for us. Sandra had notified her ahead of time. Being courteous at work. Between people who deal with abuse cases all the time. Dr. Chen did a great job. She took pictures of all the bruises from a few different angles. A medical-grade camera can see more details than a phone camera. I weighed 152 pounds, which is less than my usual 175. She checked how I reacted. Cognitive function, and looked for signals that they weren't receiving enough nourishment. She wrote down notes and remarked, Mr. Russell. These bumps are in. Different steps to getting well. It's been approximately 4 days. This one is more like 2 weeks. Can you tell me how you got? I instructed her to push Wesley on Wednesday. I stopped keeping track of other things that happened. Because they became confused. What about your weight loss? Not enough food. He instructs me when and how much to eat. She quit writing. Stared directly at me. The professional mask was coming off. Dear Mr. Russell, I need to. It's against the law to not report mistreatment of an older person. But I want you to know that I'm not just saying this because I have to. What I see here is definite proof of continuous abuse, therefore I'm going to report it. This is not a decent way to live. Her The report was 15 pages long. There are thorough measurements, clinical notes, and images attached. She used phrases as not eating on purpose and a pattern that aligns with long-term physical abuse, medical words that would carry. In court. The weekend proceeded slowly. Sandra was finishing off some papers. Daniel remained at a motel, but he came over on Saturday and Sunday. He checked data 3 times and made files. I got food to make sure I ate correctly for the first time in months on Monday morning. Sandra used Johnson's phone to call. Dear Mr. Russell, the documents have been submitted. All 3 items. Wesley is going to get fed. Wednesday. What happens next? He needs to answer. But what's more essential is that I've requested for emergency interim orders. You should get a response in 48 hours. Short-term orders? Prohibiting him from using. You can go home now that you have your accounts. We can't wait for the complete exam. You need to be secure now. Wednesday. I was in the garage in the afternoon when I heard shouting coming from inside. The first voice I heard was Wesley's, and it was loud and getting louder, high-pitched with anxiety. The person with the procedure had shown up. I observed what was going on via the window. Our cell. He ripped open the box and read it. His countenance went from perplexed to comprehending to enraged in a matter of seconds. Gertrude, She screamed and fled out of the kitchen. He gave her documents and said, "Your dad is suing me." He hired a lawyer. Trying to get it all back. It was simple to hear her voice. Services for safeguarding individuals from financial exploitation. Wesley, this reads criminal investigation. I lay down on my bed and let myself. A little smile. The attack back had begun. That night, I heard Daniel chat on the Johnson's phone. Wesley quickly looked for a lawyer. After looking over the evidence, every lawyer he talked to said no. What the tape was. The killer. Wesley was bragging about being in control of the money, which drove me walk into the garage. What he believed was showing power has transformed into confessing to a lot of crimes. Finally, Wesley found someone, lawyer James. Kovach is a recent graduate who works alone and really needs clients. Can we win? It seems that Wesley requested. The video Daniel played for me had a long break, and then Kovach's voice came on. We could try. His lawyer knew they were there. We're doomed. On Thursday morning, I woke up to the Johnson's phone ringing. I had left it in the garage all night. Once they said it was okay. Sandra's voice was clear, quick, and happy. Emergency orders were issued. Wesley couldn't access to his money right now, and Mr. Russell, you may relocate. Get back inside your house right now. I rested on the thin cushion one final time and looked around. The concrete floor, one light bulb, and a window that looked out over the garage where I had been locked up for 3 weeks. I had seen my life being robbed, so I rose up, put my few belongings in a trash bag, and he was watching from the living room as I went to the front door. I said, I'm going back inside. Guest room, standing. Please don't just walk away. I handed them the court order that Daniel had emailed to the Johnsons. A court order says Part 2, Paragraph 3. You may read it if you like. His voice got menacing. You're incorrect, old guy. I stared into his eyes. Don't be scared anymore. Just chilly. I shouldn't have trusted you. I won't do it again. I stepped past him and locked and closed the door to the guest bedroom. It felt so good when the lock snapped. At 10:15 a.m. on Thursday, Teresa Williams came up the driveway in a county car. It was the first sound I had heard in months. Designated services for keeping adults safe. I saw it from the new window in the guest bedroom, not the garage window. Wesley straightened up his shirt, smiled, and opened the front door before she walked in. Could you please knock? Good morning. It must be Ms. Williams. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I'm delighted you could clarify this up. I have seen enough episodes in my people who were caught setting fires informed the police that they began electrical fires when they set their homes on fire. Wesley sounded just like that. Too helpful, like he wanted to assist people acquire insurance for their own businesses. Too slick. Teresa Williams didn't grin back, even though she had a computer and a professional camera with her. Here I am, Teresa Williams from. We got a report regarding how people are living here. I need to talk to everyone in the services for protecting adults, the family, and look out the property. Gertrude stepped in, her concerned energy filling the room. Would you like coffee and water? We wish to help in any way we can. Teresa said no to the offer of a place to stay. The garage is the first place to look. I get Mr. Russell was there and stayed. Wesley's performance went apart. He or she wanted. We gave him a bedroom, but he asked, show me. He wanted independence and seclusion. They walked to the garage. I was in my room and heard Teresa's camera snap through the wall. Her discourse is cold and to the point. There is no heat, no restroom, and just one mattress on the floor. Do you honestly think a 68-year-old guy chose this over a bedroom in the house? He's unwilling. Do you know how elderly people can be? I've seen Mr. Matthews deal with elder abuse before, and this seems just like it. I liked it. It was time for the interview at the kitchen table. Wesley and Gertrude were sent to the living room, and she knocked on my door. Mr. Russell, I need to talk to you alone. We were sitting next to each other. She put her tablet in the midst of us and started recording. I need you, Mr. Russell, she said. Tell me the truth about everything. Are you afraid of Wesley? Yes. Has he? Yes, more than once. The latest time was last week. I stroked the bruise beneath my eye as it disappeared. There have been others. Did you choose to live in the garage? Not at all. He forced me to it. 3 weeks ago, they declared that was the new regulation. This house is mine. I paid for it 15 years ago. But he has the authority to do that. He controls my wages and everything else. I took a break. In charge. Now in the past. She wrote quickly. The power of a lawyer. Did you want to sign it? He put a lot of stress on me. They told me they would place me in a care home if I didn't do what they wanted. I was afraid. I had 20 minutes to ask questions, and I answered each one. One with facts, dates, and specific occurrences. There's no need to add anything else. The truth was already quite unpleasant. After my interview, Teresa talked to Wesley and Gertrude separately. Their stories were too well thought out and rehearsed. I could hear bits and pieces through the walls, such phrases that sounded like they were written down and responses that went against my schedule. She left and headed over to the Johnsons' house next door. She was gone for half an hour. When she arrived back, her professional mask was broken, and she was getting angrier and angrier. There were further images, measurements, and notes of the garage that she took. Then she went without saying goodbye to Wesley. The temporary instructions came in on Friday morning. Daniel contacted me on the hopped on Johnson's phone. Dad, look at your email. Sandra emailed you the court order. I was at Johnson's on the computer. Take your time reading the article. Wesley Matthews can't use any bank accounts from now on. Those belong to Ambrose Russell. Does that imply he can't even touch $1 of your money? Read the second portion also. Ambrose Russell is allowed to dwell in his primary house straight immediately. I was already inside, but the order made it public, legal, and difficult to dispute with. What about Wesley? I can't stop you. If he attempts, he will be in problems with the court. That night, Gertrude arrived to my door. Her face had patches on it from sobbing. Dad, may I talk to you? Gertrude, what do you want? How could you do this? We're your family. We welcomed you in when I opened the door wider and glanced at my kid. This lady. She didn't say anything when her husband hit me for months. You took me in? Gertrude, this is my house. I own it. I was there, but you didn't let me in. You took from me, left me hungry, and forced me sleep in a garage. That's not how it happened. Wesley only wanted to help run things. Your family doesn't act as you did. Family doesn't allow there. The father is being treated badly. Gertrude, you chose him over me. Now you have to live with that choice. I'm still your kid. The door was shut. After that, you should have revealed it. What a time. It was quite quiet, and not many people left Wesley's room. It was terrible to hear Gertrude weep through the walls. I stayed in the room for visitors. food was eaten and the door shut. Daniel came over and got better. Sandra called me on Sunday afternoon. The final. Judge Morrison will listen to all sides at the meeting next Friday and make a decision. Decisions on the power of attorney, money for damages, and housing that will last. The APS report is going to be the best. What about criminal charges? Teresa wants the individual to be prosecuted. After the civil hearing, the district attorney will decide what to do. Wednesday came and went, and each day grew closer to Friday. Daniel got there on Thursday night and remained at. They stayed at a motel, but they arrived to the house early on Friday. I walked outside to his car, while Wesley watched from the living room. The curtain shifted in the window. I turned around and didn't look back. Daniel said, "Are you ready, Dad?" I buckled my seat belt. It took 20 minutes to get to the courts. I had to wait 20 minutes for everything to be ready. I told them they were ready for months. Let's get this over with. Daniel parked in the parking area for the courthouse. I could see the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas building from inside the automobile. It has marble and glass, which make it look enormous and scary, as a government structure should. "Are you ready?" Daniel asked his dad. Was I ready? Was I ready to face Wesley? A judge? Are you ready for others to see my embarrassment, my injuries, and my garage? I said, let's go, since this was going to happen whether they were ready or not. It was occurring, and I'd rather stand in front of it than run away from it while getting hit. Sandra was outside of courtroom 5. She looked quite professional with her blue suit and leather handbag. She shook my hand and said, "Good morning. How are you? How are you, Mr. Russell? Are you nervous? Are you ready? That's excellent. Nerves help you stay sharp." She checked her watch and noticed that the judge had set aside 2 hours for the meeting. "I'll start by delivering our proof. There are problems with health, sight, money, and sound. Kovach will try to make a case against them. She can choose when to do it. It might be today or next week, but I guess it will be today because of the unique regulations." When I came inside the courtroom, I knew what to expect: tall ceilings, wooden panels. Wesley sat at the defense table with Kovach, and the judge's bench was raised like a justice altar. He was wearing an. Wesley stared at me, and Gertrude, who was next to him, had a pale face. He was wearing a suit that didn't fit well. At 10 o'clock, Judge Patricia Riss stepped in. She was in her late 60s and had a steely gray tint. She had long hair and a face that seemed like it had seen everything twice and wasn't happy each time. "Please sit down, Miss Mitchell. Now you can give your opening remark." Sandra stepped up and said, "Thank you, Your Honor. This scenario is easy. The suspect, Wesley Matthews, took advantage of his father-in-law by assaulting him and stealing money from him. We have medical and photographic evidence that someone is illegally denying someone a house. There are bank documents, witness testimony, and most importantly, an audio clip of Mr. Matthews admitting to these crimes." She pushed a button on her remote, and Dr. Chen's medical report showed up on the screen in the courtroom. There were also pictures of my. There are purple, yellow, and green bruises that are getting better at different speeds. I leaned closer and read. Then the visuals of the garage poured out. The thin mattress, the concrete floor, the utilitarian sink, and the one naked bulb are all more damning than the last one. Judge Hendricks's expression became hard. Financial records. Next, there are yellow bank accounts that get $7,500 sent to them every month and keep track of expenditures. The SUV costs $42,000, the TV costs $3,000, and an additional costs hundreds. Sandra showed the tape after drinking. Wesley's voice was loud and haughty in the courtroom. "Your dad signed the paperwork, so I have control over everything. The home and the money are both mine. Then it will be mine. This is where he lives now, and the regulations are to stay silent." There was a heavy, damning silence after it was ended. "Please see that tape as Exhibit D." "Is that the defendant's voice again?" Judge Hendrick questioned Ms. Mitchell. "Yes, Your Honor," Daniel Russell said. "A dispute on the land. Pennsylvania is a one-party consent state, therefore the recording is legal." "Understood." The judge turned to Wesley and asked, "Mr. Matthews, is that you? And did you say such things?" I'm sorry, they were taken out of context. The context is what makes that income mine. Wesley inquired, is it okay to talk about someone else's retirement income now? Nothing. Lawyer Kovach sought to defend himself. The power of attorney was signed without any pressure. It was a family fight, not abuse. Ambrose might have left at any point. The judge's questioning ruined all of the arguments. Mr. Matthews, you're under arrest. Did you or did you not utilize Mr. Russell's pension money to buy a car for yourself? Mr. Russell needed a $40,000 SUV to go about, but he already had one that functioned. You did ask him whether you could spend his money first, right? Wait a second, then say it softly. No. Did Mr. Russell had decided to live in the garage, right? It was hard for him. Issues in a house with 3 bedrooms and 3 individuals living there. Give it another shot. Quiet. Let me be more clear, did you tell Mr. Russell he had to stay in the garage? He answered yes in a low voice. The judge took a step back and considered. I stared at Wesley for a long time. I've heard enough evidence to make my choice. Mr. and Mrs. Matthews. Please get up. They did, and Gertrude was shaking. I think that the power of attorney was taken by force. And threats, too. Even if they signed it knowingly, utilizing it subsequently is still financial abuse under Pennsylvania law says that the power of attorney is now completely invalid. Holding their breath. Let it soak in. I also think Mr. Matthews stole. Someone took about $28,000 from Mr. Russell's retirement savings. The money is payable in 90 days. I didn't hear what Gertrude said. Third, concerning the Mr. Russell is the legal owner of the land in this living scenario. Now, Mr. and Ms. Matthews have too. You have 48 hours to vacate the property, or the cops will come to aid you. Wesley's face. 2 days? That's 12 p.m. on Thursday. Finally, I'm offering a shield. Mr. and Ms. Matthews can't talk to Mr. Russell or approach within 500 feet of him because of an abuse order. Someone or something. Long pause. One last thing. This is the proof. Denotes misbehavior, specifically stealing money from an elderly person, which is a felony in Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia District Attorney's Office will look into this matter and may take action. The defense lost, the gavel was hit, and the court was over. Gertrude was in the hall. I moved back and begged, Dad, please. We didn't mean to. Don't worry, we'll make things right and pay you back. You had months to correct things, but you didn't. Planted himself in the middle of us. You had to go because the judge told us not to talk to you. Wesley took Gertrude away from him. This isn't over, a harsh voice shouted. Sandra moved up and added, actually, Mr. Matthews. Yes, and if you breach the protective order, you will be arrested. I think you should leave for the next 48 hours. As we strolled outdoors into the midday heat, we didn't make any threats. The courtroom was dark, although the day was brilliant in August. There was a great contrast between the evidence and the verdict. On the steps of the building, Sandra shook my hand. You'll get the written order within 24 hours. Enforcement begins. Daniel, if they're not gone by noon on Thursday, contact the police immediately away. It's over, Dad. You did it. But it's not done yet. Wesley and Gertrude had 48 hours to get ready and go. I'd go back into my house on Thursday at noon and feel like it was mine again. Standing on the steps of the courtroom, breathing the fresh air, and knowing that the judge had recognized the truth and ruled in my favor felt like that. We stayed in Daniel's hotel room on Tuesday night. Sandra had already gone home, but she left us printouts of. Daniel urged us to wait here until they left and showed us sections of the court decree that proved we had won. Since I had already paid for the hotel until Friday, I said sure. The court had taken away Wesley's power, so I wasn't afraid of him anymore. I liked him, but I didn't want to see him pack or spend another night with him. I read the order again and replied, they have to be out by noon on Thursday. That gives them 2 more days. I can wait 2 more days. On Wednesday afternoon, I passed by the house and spotted boxes through the windows. It seems like folks were packing up rapidly. He noticed me from the living room and came outdoors with tears in his eyes. Dad. Can we please talk? I left the car running, but I rolled down the window. What do you want to say, Gertrude? I'm ready to chat. I'm sorry. I should have stopped him and kept you safe. You were correct. You should have. Wesley, I was afraid when you stood by and let him starve me in that garage. I was terrified and didn't know how to take command of anything. I was 68 years old. I know you should have assisted me when I was elderly, being battered, and going hungry. You're my daughter. I'm sorry. I adore you. We don't trust each other anymore, Gertrude, but you're still my daughter. Maybe sometime we can repair it, but please leave my house right now so I can get better. She sobbed. I understand. See you later. I drove away without looking back, Gertrude. Daniel and I got together on Thursday at 11:45. A U-Haul truck showed up at 11:52, with Wesley driving and Gertrude in the passenger seat. I kept my eyes on the road until the vehicle turned and disappeared. There was no sound. After that, I headed to the door. I opened the door, put my key in the lock, and went inside. There were no gifts in the home. The keys were on the kitchen counter, and the rooms were vacant. The silence was different now. It wasn't heavy, but tranquil. Daniel murmured, "Home, Dad," behind me. The fix took place on Friday. He said, the locksmith came at 9 a.m. every lock. I put the new keys away in the front door, the back door, the garage, and the basement. The locksmith said that the old keys didn't work anymore. Good, I said. I don't want him to have anything that works here. No longer. The bank manager deleted my old accounts and opened new ones with identification with 2 steps. If Mr. Matthews tried to display the old power of attorney, our system would detect him right away. From a banking point of view, I stated it was truly over. Yes, sir, you have your money back. Next came the security cameras that watched the front door and the rear yard door that detects movement. The tech showed me the program that lets me trace my phone. It lets you know who's at the door. He said, before you answer. I got back control of my body and thinking bit by bit. Safety, financial safety, and comfort of mind. The Johnsons on Saturday morning. Frank greeted Ambrose with an apple pie that was still warm. Good evening, and thanks for the pie and everything else. Thank you for talking, for. Martha said, we should have done more sooner. You did enough. You did what you were told to do. It was vital that we were back in my living room, enjoying coffee and pie, and chatting about normal stuff. The weather, stories about the area, the approaching block party, typical conversation, and a gift I didn't realize I had. I thought I had lost it, but then I got it back. Daniel and I sat quietly and comfortably after they went. I drank my coffee. Gertrude had stashed it at the back of the closet, and it was my favorite cup. There was A on the mantel. A photo from a long time ago of my late wife, my little daughter Gertrude, and my adolescent son Daniel. All at once. A family that was no longer together, yet whose love lingered on. Still had an effect on who I am now. How are you doing, Dad? Really? Sleepy. It's weird that I'm at home drinking coffee from my own cup. Things that were typical 6 months ago seem like treats now that I'm sitting in my own chair. They should never have occurred. Taken away from you. No, they shouldn't have. I stopped. Do you know what I keep saying? For 40 years, I raced into burning buildings to save people. I never believed I would be able to say that. You did, but I need to go away from my family. You fought back and triumphed, and I did too with your aid. I glanced at him and asked, what did you do? You came when you did, believed me, and found Sandra. You shouldn't have had to do that by yourself. But I'm proud of you, Dad. Wesley, getting evidence and heading to that court. That required courage. I grinned a little bit. At 68, you can do it. Be strong, you can still fight and win. What are you going to do next? That's all I need, to live in my house, make money, and do what I want. The mail provided news after a month. There was an official notification first. Matthews may go to jail for 2 to 4 years for felony financial exploitation. Second, a handwritten note. Dear Dad, I know this letter can't make up for what I did. I realize sorry isn't enough, but I want you to know that I talked to the police and told them everything. I said I would go on probation if I testified against Wesley, and I did. I'm going to jail now. I wish I didn't have to lose everything to find out what type of guy he was. I don't expect what I let him do to you. Please forgive me since I don't deserve it. But I hope we can communicate again, maybe in a few years. I adore you, Dad. I always did, Gertrude. I read it again, then carefully folded it up and put it away. Inside my desk drawer. I haven't thrown it away or responded it yet, I've merely stored it for later. We may chat again when I was ready, or we might not. I would say that. Set my own timetable. I sat in my living room that night and pondered about my home, my chair, and my life as the sun went down. While the Johnsons toiled in their yard, a couple walked their dog past my driveway. It was just another night in the suburbs. I had been in that shed for 3 months, afraid, hungry, and embarrassed. But I had not only survived, but had fought back and triumphed. The pay was. I owned the house and my dignity. And sitting there in the everything was the calmness of my new existence. Please follow this movie and like it if you like this narrative. Please sign up for the channel and tell us what you thought of this article in the comments. To hear the following tale, thanks for watching.